later in the first round. That's always a possibility as well.
I'm all for it.
You know,
I'm all for it. I saw a cool thing of would you trade 22nd overall for Juju from the Steelers?
oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Juju had Duck Hodges throwing him the ball.
dude named Duck and fucking Rudolph.
And, fuck every single football analyst that picked the Duck Hodges-led Steelers over the Bills. Are you kidding me? Like, I know we didn't beat anybody that great this year, and our schedule next year is going to suck. We got NFC West. So, I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
We didn't take advantage of a great schedule this year, but Duck?
Oh, Ducky.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Yeah, no. That shit ain't for me. That shit is not for me.
How are you liking your Lakers this year?
I don't watch them. I don't watch them. I did not suffer through years of terrible teams, and I'm not even gonna act like I watch 41 or 81 or 82 games a year. Like, it's not like I watch all the home games. Not like I watch all the away games. I watch probably a good 20 Laker games a year, but I didn't watch those teams because I liked seeing them.
Right.
I watched those teams because that's who my family liked, and then for them to just accumulate all of this good young talent and throw it out the door for Anthony Davis, who's fantastic. That's just not the way that I want to build a franchise. I want to build a franchise organically.
Yeah. It kind of loses, and I know exactly what you mean. It kind of loses the fun aspect of it once your teams get rid of those players that you kind of like. You've been through the grind with them.
I loved Brandon Ingram.
You know what I mean?
I loved Brandon Ingram, and I'm really happy that he's performing well statistically for the Pelicans. But it just sucks.
Yeah, man. Like with my Sixers.
Yeah.
When we traded like Dario and Covington last year for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, I know Jimmy Butler is the superior player.
Absolutely.
And he's not on our team no more, but it just lost its like good sense of feel to it. Like, it's like, like these dudes were the process. This was all part of the
process
plan.
is a big deal now.
Like, this shit was like, it worked. Like, this is my team, and then they just broke that apart, and then on top of that, traded for Tobias Harris. So then it's like, okay, now this is our team, and it's different. And I didn't enjoy it as much as I did when we had those players. It's like it's not as enjoyable as a fan. Now, it would be, obviously, if you would have won the championship, I wouldn't be sitting here complaining about it.
Oh, yeah.
But we literally ended up in the same round that we did the year before. It's like, fuck.
I don't know if you saw Deion Dawkins wrote an article today for the Players Tribune about the Bills, and he's like, this team's different. It's like 2017, he's like, we were lucky to get into the playoffs, and we knew it. He's like, not to take anything away from any of the guys that were in that locker room. We all worked our asses off, but we were lucky, and we knew it.
Yeah.
We were. He's like, our championship was playing. That was our championship.
Yeah.
Like, this year, it was different. We all worked our asses off, and that's cool for me because he's one of those guys that we drafted. McDermott and Bean draft great. They draft great.
Yeah.
The jury's still out on quarterback, but that's also the hardest thing to hit on.
That's a fact.
And I'll never forgive them for passing up on Mahomes and Watson because they didn't, quote-unquote, have enough time to scout offense before the draft.
Who'd you draft in that year?
Trey White.
Okay.
So it's not a bad thing. Like, everything works out.
Y'all traded back, right?
Yeah, because we traded the Chiefs. The Chiefs took Mahomes with our pick.
Right. Ooh.
Yeah.
But you know what? It kind of makes you wonder, though, had y'all draft Mahomes, is it the Mahomes that we know of today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
for sure.
Mahomes being able to go to Kansas City under Andy Reid, who was a quarterback whisperer.
Absolutely.
That's like the perfect situation. That's like the perfect scenario. He's able to sit a year behind Alex Smith. He's able to be in the quarterback room with a veteran quarterback as well as a fucking guru like Andy Reid is.
Yeah.
And then come in next year and then put together the season that he did. It's like, damn, well, what happens if he was to go to a different team? It's like the same thing like with Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. Like, what if, like, Lamar MVP season this year, But what if fucking the New York Jets took him at 3? Or was it 2?
I think they were.
It was 3. Saquon
they were
2.
3.
Yeah. So what if the New York Jets take him at 3? Or what if Cleveland takes him at 1? I don't think he's going to be the same. I don't think he's the same player as that he is now if he goes to one of those more inept franchises.
It's the same. It's all about the situation that you're placed in.
Yes.
And it's all like for football, it's the same way with hockey. It's probably the same way with basketball and baseball. But it's all about the situation that you're placed in. It's some of the shit is just ridiculous. The expectations now on these young kids, which I think is interesting because we were talking earlier about how the work ethic for kids or for the younger generations isn't as good in like the everyday work life, like the 9-to-5 life. But these athletes that are kids, they go so hard because they're expected to make such a bigger impact at such a young age. Like I know, like the Sabres drafted some kid in 2017. He like right out of high school hockey. He signs. He plays a year of college, and then he comes to the NHL, and he's not doing good. And we sent him down to the minors.
Okay.
And people are freaking out. And it's like, this dude's 20. He played high school hockey. Like, some of these people play juniors or professional overseas. This dude played like 30 games of high school hockey and 30 games of college, and now you want him to put up a point a game over an 80-game schedule of traveling all over 2 different countries? Like, no. Like, there's unreal expectations now on kids.
Yeah, that's definitely unfair, that aspect. You got to give them time to develop. I think because it's too much of a in sports in general. It's too much of a win now league, and teams, and you see it. Like you see coaches get fired after a year. You see quarterbacks they just get thrown into the fire as soon as they get drafted because you want to win on that quarterback's rookie contract. That's when you can put together a complete roster.
Absolutely,
which I understand, but at the same time, you got to give these kids a little bit of time to develop. You know what I mean? They haven't. Excuse me. They coming straight out of college, coming straight out of high school. They haven't experienced life,
Yeah.
And now they got basically the keys to an entire organization.
You got to teach them how to be young men first before you can teach them how to be a franchise quarterback.
I think that's what separates the elite franchises from the ones that like the Cleveland Browns, where
you, Cleveland.
Baker Mayfield had a phenomenal rookie season. And then they come in this year, all these expectations, and they
cashed out. He's on all these commercials. They went out and got the LSU guys who Jarvis Landry. I hate him because of what he did to Aaron Williams.
What did he do?
Crackback block, absolutely blindsided him. He ended his career.
Oh wow,
dude has neck problems. Like just a totally unnecessary block.
Yeah,
and this was before the blindside block fucking penalties that they have now. And Gilmore was the one who should have called it out to him on the play, like, hey, you got one coming, but he didn't do it. So fuck you, Gilmore, too. Steph Gilmore. No.
That's tough.
No, so I've always had it out for Jarvis Landry. But Odell, there was no denying what he was doing in his first season. Like, he was spectacular. But, like, I don't know. There's something about his attitude. Like he's your classic diva wide receiver. He's not like Michael Thomas or like DeAndre Hopkins who keeps his mouth shut most of the time. Like those guys literally just go out there and catch the ball.
Yeah, your Julio Jones is. Yeah, he's that cloth from the Antonio Brown, Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson.
Yo, we gotta talk about Antonio Brown.
Yo, he lost his fucking mind.
He's batshit insane.
He is,
and I feel very, very bad for him. Because clearly there's something going on. But, like, this dude, like, I distinctly remember it from, like, a mental health standpoint, going through, like, what Richie was going through with the Bills. Yeah. Like, how he said he was going to go and get his gun and kill everybody in that funeral home. And, like, my friend works for the Bills. And they were warned, like, hey, if you see him on the premise, call Orchard Park Police. You are not trained to deal with this. You're not equipped to deal with this. We don't know what's going on with his head. And that's how I feel with Antonio Brown because, like, he's just, like, he's such a wild card. Like, some of the sporadic things that he was saying, like how he's like, man, fuck the NFL. Like, I hate the NFL. And then the next day he would go out and tweet like, I can't wait to be back in the NFL. It's such a good organization. Like, it was like he had 7 different people inside of him, and he was letting them all come out.
Very Splitish.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely like the movie Split. He definitely had multiple different personalities talking at one time. And yeah, I think that he may have took, one too many blows to the head, man. I think maybe that one that Burfict laid on him might have been the one that...
Which is funny because in Hard Knocks, I think it was, or maybe they didn't capture it in Hard Knocks, but they were talking about it afterwards, that when he got into it with Mike Mayock, Burfict was the one that held him back.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Burfict's like, he's not a good person.
Burfitt's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Thank you for saying it, but he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he is. He's when you talk about dirty players, he's that Romanowski type. He's in that same mode. And for Antonio Brown to be sitting there calling Mike Mayock all these names, I think he called him a cracker and all this shit. Like, he was just freaking out on him. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of funny.
No, that was hilarious.
I was
dying. I kid you not. Like I think that's really fucking funny.
That's funny as hell.
And like, one of the things that really pissed me off was that if you had your classic people on Twitter or on Facebook saying, "Oh, well, could you imagine if a white wide receiver called a black general manager like a racial slur?" And is don't you ever put the word cracker in the same fucking stratosphere.
Right. Not even close.
That to me is like a joke word.
And on top of that, fucking when Riley Cooper, remember Riley?
I remember Riley.
Yeah, my man Riley Cooper. He got on camera saying the fucking N-word.
I'm surprised he didn't get depleted. Like, I'm surprised somebody didn't like you had Ndamukong Suh stepping on people's fucking calves because they made a yo mama joke on the fucking line. But this dude says, like, I would have murdered him. Mm-hmm. I would have took him out on the field.
They gave him an extension.
Yeah, no, that's just not right.
Chip Kelly, man, get that brother an extension. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. How the fuck do you get caught on camera saying the N-word and then get an extension?
No, I actually laughed when AB called Mike Mayock that too, because I was just like, that is so good.
That is OD. Like, that's a true. You could tell he was just heated, and that's the first thing that popped up in his mind. Out of all the shit that you could have said, that's the first thing that popped in your mind. That's classic. Yeah, AB he's a head case, man. I hope he gets help, honestly.
Absolutely.
On a real, like, it's entertaining as shit to read him, see him on Twitter, and now he says he's about to have like a celebrity boxing match, was it Logan Paul or whatever his name is?
Fuck Logan Paul too. Fuck the Paul brothers. Those guys are douchebags. Mm-hmm. Like, it's people like them that make it bad to be white. It is people like them. They suck.
They said that Logan Paul said he beat his ass, and Antonio Brown said square up.
I'd
love to see it.
I would see it, but that's like that, dude. That shit's insane to me.
Yeah,
I can't get on board with that. I can't get on board with Antonio Brown, the real GOAT of Twitter, who's a former NFL wide receiver, Chad Ochocinco. He tweeted something today, or maybe it was yesterday, where I was falling out of my seat at my desk laughing. Yeah. Like, he was talking about taking a road trip to Jacksonville, and some dude tweeted to him, and he goes, "You're a fucking NFL player, dude. Like, you were a star player. You should be drinking champagne off of a supermodel's stomach." And Chad Ochocinco just quotes it and says, "Yeah, like a decade ago, bro." And he's like, "But I like BBWs too much." Hey. He's like, so I'd rather suck Starbucks out of their fupa.
Oh my God.
He's just so funny. Like,
Chad Johnson, out of all the trash talkers in the NFL, mm-hmm. where would you rank him at?
He's got to be up there.
He might be number one.
He has to be. I think Steve Smith is number one.
So usually, like, your best trash talkers usually comes from the wide receiver position. Right?
Absolutely.
So, like, the ones that come to mind automatically: Steve Smith, Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, mm-hmm. Randy Moss to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. That's about it. I'll say those probably be my top 4.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard anyone like in the current NFL